Hello students, good morning. I am Dhirendra, Modern English School New Area, Senior Wing. Today I am going to teach you third chapter of history of class 8, ruling the countryside. This is third part. In this part we will study about crop British wanted to grow in India. In this topic, we will also see why they wanted to grow particular crop in India. Dear students, yesterday we studied that how British procured more and more revenue from countryside. Meanwhile, they were trying to generate more profit from India. In this effort, they realized that countryside not only could yield revenue, this also produced crops that Europe required. By late 18th century, East India Company tried its best to produce opium and indigo. They also either persuaded or forced cultivator to produce others crop in other part of India, such as jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugar cane in United Province, that is Uttar Pradesh, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, and rice in Madras. Today, student, we will see what methods were implemented by British, by which method they forced or they were in condition to grow crops they needed. Understand this by an example. See picture 5 and 6. Figure 5 is about kalamkari painting. This is of 20th century. These paintings were made by weavers of Andhra Pradesh. And figure 6 was produced by William Morris, a very well-known poet as well as artist of Britain. Figure 6 was floral painting on cotton cloth. There is one common thing in these paintings, and that is blue color. Dear students, what is this blue color? This blue color was produced by a plant that is indigo, and it is likely that this indigo must be imported from India, because at that time India was the biggest supplier of indigo in the world. Now, question may arise that why Indian indigo? Why Indian indigo was in great demand? Why all cloth manufacturers? Why all the dyers preferred Indian indigo? Dear students, indigo was produced in tropics. Means indigo was produced in tropical countries. By 13th century, indigo was being used by Italy, France and Britain. Dear students, what was topic? Topic is why Indian indigo? At that time, all the cloth manufacturers, all the dyers preferred Indian indigo. But as production of Indian indigo was very small amount of Indian indigo could reach the European market. So, cloth manufacturers had to depend on wood, which was alternative of indigo. At that time or during those time, as wood was grown in temperate zone, so this was easily available in European countries. Wood was produced in northern part of Italy, southern part of France and in parts of Britain and Germany. Dear students, can you remember Calico Act? Same thing happened in this case. Wood producers were afraid of indigo. They were afraid of competition with indigo. So, wood producers persuaded their government to impose ban on import of indigo. But as time passes, demand of indigo was increased because indigo produce very fine and shine color and wood produce a pale and dull color. So some countries started cultivation of indigo in their respective colonies. For example, France in Saint Domingo in Caribbean island, Portuguese in Brazil, Spanish in Venezuela, and English in Jamaica. Indigo plantation was very common in Northern America also. Dear students, by the end of 19th century, demand of indigo was increased because industrialization happened in Britain and due to industrialization, production also increased, and if production increased, demand of indigo would ultimately increase. But as supply were very few, and unfortunately, due to so many reasons, supply of indigo became or decreased by half during 1783 to 1791. Dear students, here we have to understand that why supply of indigo decreased by half during 1783 to 1791. Dear students, this was time of revolution in France, as well as in colonies. Nationalist movement were also started, and it affected the production of indigo. I hope all of you have understood very well that why indigo production decreased during 1783 to 91 due to French Revolution as well as nationalist movement in respective colonies. But demands was continued, so industrialist cloth manufacturers had to find a way, and this time they turned to India to produce indigo. In Bengal, indigo cultivation expanded rapidly. Understand this. In 1788, only 30% of Indian indigo reached into European market, but till 1810, 95% of indigo was occupied by 95% of indigo market was occupied by Indian indigo. You can imagine very well that how rapidly it expanded in Bengal. And to make fortune in indigo plantation, can you imagine? Company officials as well as traders became cultivator. Some company officials resigned their job, left their job and became cultivator, indigo cultivator. Some European came to India to produce indigo. Now you can guess very well that why should company official left their job? No doubt this was, or indigo cultivation was very profitable job. This was very profitable work. Now that's all. This is end of this part. Tomorrow we will study how indigo was produced. Stay at home, to fight with corona.